What's up, guys? It's Josh here, back with another Kansas City Chiefs related video. Today I wanted to talk about someone that I think put themselves on the roster bubble that before probably was nearly a lock to make the team. I think a lot of you, well, you guys already know what I'm talking about, or who I'm talking about, because you read the title of the video, but Demarcus Robinson is someone that I have been very critical of as of recently, coming off of last season, and I still thought he was going to make the team because everyone seems to like him in the organization, and I mean, like, there was just no reason D-Rob wasn't going to make it. They like him as receiver depth, but I was beginning to grow frustrated with him and his antics. Well, now the coaches are starting to take notice, and I think Demarcus Robinson is seriously in trouble, especially after that last preseason game, because if you guys didn't know, so today Dave Tobe was in his presser at Chiefs practice, right? And he pretty much called out Demarcus Robinson. So I'm going to be reading these quotes from Dave Tobe from ChiefsWire.com. And Dave Tobe started off by talking about Robinson on special teams, saying, "He drives me nuts a little bit," Tobe said of Robinson. "He really does, to be honest, and he knows it. I'd like to see him catch it and keep the ball tight to his body, and he doesn't do that," Tobe continued. "I'd like to see him get north and south. He doesn't do that. Those are things that we can talk about all the time. He's a great make-you-miss guy," Tobe said. "There's probably nobody better, but he's got to learn to get up the field. He's a good catcher, so in an emergency situation, you can use him as a guy that can get you through a game, but as an every down guy, he's got ways to go." So that's all from special teams coordinator Dave Tobe, and it's rare that you hear a coach come out and just really be that blunt about one of their players, especially a Chiefs coach. The Chiefs are usually pretty tight-knit about that stuff, and they don't really come out and criticize their players, especially Reed, but that was brutally honest. And I'm not quite sure whether or not we should take that as Demarcus Robinson is on the roster bubble, but to me, he is. This article from ChiefsWire.com, it goes on to talk about how Robinson's roster spot wasn't dependent on his special teams play, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of these antics from his special teams play that Tobe was talking about happened to spill over into his play as a receiver as well. He likes to hold the ball out. He likes to run in the opposite direction. He makes a lot of boneheaded decisions, right? I understand some are going to argue that Robinson, he's a solid receiver and he knows the offense. He can block a little bit, give you some of that play at the X roll. He'll give you 400 or 500 yards and a handful of touchdowns. I've even heard a lot of Chiefs media still go on to say that Robinson is a reliable receiver, and I talked about this with Lucas and Michael in the Kingdom Crew podcast, which, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. You can find it on all platforms, including here on YouTube. But anyway, I've heard a lot of media, Chiefs media, still say that Robinson is a reliable receiver. Where are you getting that from? He's not a reliable receiver. I mean, heck, remember, he almost cost us that Raiders game, the second one last year, because he quit running his route and didn't curl when he was supposed to curl or snag, whichever route it was, and let the ball get intercepted because he wasn't paying attention. He's wildly inconsistent, always has been, and I think he hurts the team a little more than he helps it. I understand he has a great relationship with everyone there, but I mean, even this ChiefsWire.com article also points out that he has a career negative 6.5 yard average per return as a return man. Then as a receiver, like I said, people still will tell you that he can give you a few hundred yards and a couple touchdowns, but I honestly think that the Chiefs have guys on this roster right now that can do that for you. I think Robinson is pretty easily replaceable, to be quite honest. We talk about how the receiver room is tight and whether the Chiefs are going to keep Kemp or Fountain, and then Cornell Powell is kind of on the bubble there. To be honest, I would like to see those guys given a shot over Demarcus Robinson. I think it's time for someone new. I'm over Robinson. And I remember the Chiefs were in. This is why the Chiefs were in on a new wide receiver too this offseason, why they went after Juju, why they went after Josh Reynolds, and Josh Reynolds in particular. I would have been a fan of that addition. And I remember a lot of people were saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal because the Chiefs ended up re-signing Demarcus Robinson later, and people said Demarcus Robinson and Josh Reynolds are pretty comparable, but also Josh Reynolds has been getting better every single year, though his stats are pretty comparable to Demarcus Robinson. We know what Demarcus Robinson is. I think there's probably still more room for Josh Reynolds to go. And look, I'm not going to make this whole video into a Josh Reynolds kind of echo chamber, but I mean, I would have taken Josh Reynolds over Demarcus Robinson 10 times out of 10. I would have loved that addition and to have moved on from Robinson. Maybe some of you disagree. That's just how I feel. I'm just over Demarcus Robinson, though. Like, he tries to do too much, and it's unfortunate because I was a pretty big D-Rob defender up until about last year, and he has had some really good games and some good moments, but man, I just don't think it outweighs the headache that he also gives you with a lot of his plays. Like, he runs backwards all the time. He holds the ball out like LaShawn McCoy did. It's maddening. He fumbled that one ball through the end zone last year against the Saints. That was a disaster. I am just struggling to see how you can continue to justify the presence of Demarcus Robinson. And I think the quotes from Dave Tobe today are pretty significant. I think Demarcus Robinson is in trouble. I know I saw some people on Twitter say that this from Tobe probably means that Demarcus Robinson is still sticking around because usually you don't tear down a player like that and then release him on top of it. That's not really how the Chiefs do things. It's just them publicly saying they want to see Demarcus get better and they're sending a message. But I don't know. I would still consider getting rid of him, to be honest, if I was the Chiefs in the front office. Because as what, a fifth-year player now? Sixth-year player, however long Demarcus has been in the league, he should know better. And in a preseason game, he's the type of player that should be feasting on a lot of those guys on the field with him. But he just tries to do too much. He's trying to turn around, and he doesn't take the angle that's in front of him, and he goes backwards, and he just hurts himself. It was painful to watch in that Cardinals preseason game. I'll still lean for now on the side of the Chiefs will keep Demarcus Robinson and he gives them at least someone that they're comfortable with. I mean, I'm not comfortable with him, but like they're comfortable with him because even though I might like a guy with or more upside like Powell or Fountain, they haven't shown enough, especially during a regular season or a real NFL season, that they can hold up and be reliable. Demarcus Robinson, and again, I would hesitate to call him reliable. He's at least a guy. He's a guy, and I think the Chiefs would rather keep a guy than get rid of him, But I do get a little bit tired of people acting like Demarcus Robinson is some stalwart receiver that you just can't let go, because I'd be surprised if they let him go. Probably still, like I said, but I would not be upset about it at all. All in all, I think Robinson has brought his stock down a little bit this preseason and training camp. And to hear Dave Tobe's comments today, I definitely think that put Demarcus Robinson on notice that he's got to do something. He's got to do it right if he wants to stay on this team. That's kind of how I see it. But I want you guys to let me know, what did you think of Dave Tobe's comments, and what do you think Demarcus Robinson's future looks like on the Chiefs? Let me know in the comments. All that being said, though, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on kckingdom.com and showmefootball.com. Peace.